Emma Clark was adjusting her veil when she heard the moans. Through the cracked door, she saw Derek, her Derek, with his tongue in Jessica's mouth, his hands moving up the bridesmaid's dress. "Just 3 more months, baby. She signs the rest. We do the honeymoon, and we eliminate the problem." Jessica laughed. 3 years pretending. The idiot never suspected a thing. Emma had 5 seconds. She ran. The white silk of the wedding dress caught on the rough asphalt as Emma Clark ran barefoot down the empty highway. Her lungs burned, her feet bled, but she did not stop. Behind her, the small church sat like a monument to her shattered life. Inside those walls, 200 guests still waited. The organ music had stopped playing 20 minutes ago. The whispers had probably started by now. Emma did not care. She ran faster, the heavy fabric of the dress tangling around her legs. The June sun blazed overhead, turning the Nevada desert road into a shimmering river of heat. Sweat mixed with mascara streaked down her face in black rivers. Her carefully pinned hair had come loose, falling in wild tangles around her shoulders. She had been so stupid, so blind. 20 minutes ago she had been standing in the bride's room, hands shaking as she adjusted her veil for the 3rd time. Her maid of honor, Jessica Reynolds, had kissed her cheek and said, "I need to check something with Derek real quick." "You look perfect, Em. He's going to die when he sees you." Emma had smiled. Her best friend since college. Her rock through everything. Jessica had been there when Emma's father died. She had been there when Emma lost her job last year. She had introduced Emma to Derek Hawthorne 3 years ago at that charity gala in Manhattan. "He's perfect for you," Jessica had said then. "Trust me." And Emma had trusted her. 5 minutes after Jessica left, Emma realized she had forgotten her grandmother's bracelet in Derek's office down the hall. Something borrowed, something blue. She needed it. So she had lifted the massive skirt of her dress and walked down the narrow hallway of the church's administrative wing. She heard the voices before she reached the door. Derek's office was at the end of the hall. The door was cracked open just an inch. Just enough. "Stop worrying." Derek's voice came through, smooth and confident. "Everything is handled. Emma doesn't suspect a thing." "You're sure Victor is on board?" That was Jessica. Emma froze. Why would Jessica be asking Derek about Victor Kane? Derek had mentioned that name before. Some business associate he called dangerous. Someone to avoid. Victor gets his shipment through the Eastern Corridor. We get Chicago. Kane trusts me now. After tonight's delivery, we're set. Derek laughed. And Emma plays the perfect little wife. She's so desperate to be loved, she'll believe anything I tell her. Emma's hand went to her mouth. "What about the witnesses from the Newark job?" Jessica asked. Her voice was casual. Too casual. Like she was asking about the weather. "Taken care of. Johnson eliminated them last night. No loose ends." "Good. And after the honeymoon?" "After the honeymoon, we do what we planned. You and me, baby. Just like we always wanted. Emma gets to play house for a few months. She signs the papers I need. Then..." Derek's voice dropped lower, but Emma heard every word. "Then she becomes a liability we eliminate." Jessica laughed. Actually laughed. "I almost feel bad. She really thinks I'm her best friend." "You're a hell of an actress, 3 years of playing the supportive bestie. That's commitment. Please." She made it easy. So needy. So trusting. "Remember when I told her you were perfect for her?" Jessica's voice dripped with mockery. "She practically threw herself at you that night." Emma's entire body went numb. The look on her face when she walks down that aisle. Derek started. Emma did not wait to hear more. She turned and ran, not toward the sanctuary where 200 people waited, not toward her mother in the front row, not toward the exits where Derek's friends stood guard. She ran toward the back emergency exit. She slammed through it, setting off an alarm that screamed into the afternoon air. She did not care. She ran across the parking lot, past the decorative arch covered in white roses, past the vintage car with the "Just Married" sign. She ran until she hit the highway. Now, 15 minutes later, her legs trembled with exhaustion. The desert stretched endlessly in all directions. No cars, no buildings, just heat and sand and the crushing weight of her own stupidity. How had she missed it? 3 years. 3 years of Derek's careful attention, his gifts, his promises, the way he slowly convinced her to quit her job because, "I make enough for both of us, baby. Let me take care of you." The way he moved her from New York to his house in Nevada, the way he discouraged her from making new friends. "You have Jessica. You have me. What else do you need?" And Jessica. God, Jessica had been there for everything. Every date, every milestone. Always supportive. Always encouraging Emma to trust Derek more, to give him more control, to believe in their future. It had all been a lie. Emma's vision blurred with tears. She stumbled, caught herself, kept running. Her feet left bloody prints on the gray asphalt. The dress was no longer white. Dust and dirt stained the silk brown and gray. Behind her, she heard an engine. Emma's heart stopped. She spun around. A black SUV was coming up the highway behind her, fast. Too fast. They had found her. She tried to run faster, but her body had nothing left. The SUV would catch her in seconds. She looked around wildly. Nothing. No place to hide. No place to go. The SUV roared closer. Emma closed her eyes and waited for the end. But the vehicle did not hit her. It slowed down, pulled alongside her, stopped. Emma opened her eyes. It was not an SUV. It was a black Mercedes sedan. Expensive. The kind of car that cost more than most people made in a year. The windows were tinted so dark she could not see inside. The driver's window rolled down. A man looked out at her. He was maybe 35, with dark hair cut short and sharp features that belonged on a Roman statue. His eyes were almost black, intense and calculating. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit. A thin scar ran along his left jawline. He looked dangerous. But then again, Emma was currently running from a man who had just discussed eliminating witnesses and making her a liability. Dangerous was relative. The man studied her for a long moment. His gaze moved from her ruined dress to her bloody feet to her tear-stained face. His expression remained completely neutral. Then he said just 2 words. "Get in." His voice was deep, quiet, the kind of voice that did not need to be loud to command attention. Emma hesitated. Every instinct screamed that getting into a stranger's car was insane. But staying on this highway was certain death. Derek would find her. And when he did, she thought about his words. "She becomes a liability we eliminate." Emma grabbed the door handle and climbed into the passenger seat. The interior of the Mercedes was cool and dark. Leather seats, the smell of expensive cologne. Classical music played softly from the speakers. Something Italian. Opera, maybe. The man did not speak. He simply put the car in gear and drove. Emma's hands shook in her lap. She wanted to say something. "Thank you. Who are you? Where are we going?" But her throat was too tight. Her voice would not work. They drove in silence for 5 minutes, then 10. Finally, the man spoke. "There's water in the center console." Emma opened it with trembling fingers, found a bottle of water, opened it and drank half of it in 3 desperate gulps. The cool liquid helped. Her hands stopped shaking quite so badly. "Thank you," she whispered. The man nodded once but said nothing else. Emma studied him from the corner of her eye. His hands on the steering wheel were steady, strong hands. He wore a silver watch that probably cost more than her childhood home. A thin platinum ring on his right hand. Not a wedding ring. Something else. "What's your name?" Emma asked. The man glanced at her briefly. Those dark eyes were impossible to read. "You don't need to know my name. You just picked up a runaway bride on a desert highway. I think I deserve to know who you are." The corner of his mouth twitched. Almost a smile. Fair point. He was silent for another moment, then said, "Marco." "Marco what?" "Just Marco. For now." Emma nodded slowly. "I'm Emma." "I know." Her blood went cold. "How do you know?" Marco did not answer. He took an exit off the highway. They drove through a small town that looked half abandoned. Boarded up shops, empty streets, then back onto another highway heading north. "Where are we going?" Emma asked. Somewhere safe. Safe from what? Marco looked at her again. This time his gaze held something almost like sympathy. From whoever you're running from. Emma's eyes filled with tears again. She turned to look out the window so Marco would not see her cry. But a sob escaped anyway. Then another. Then she was crying so hard her whole body shook. Marco said nothing. He simply drove. After a few minutes, he reached into the back seat and produced a jacket. He handed it to her. Emma took it, grateful. The church had been air-conditioned. She had not realized how cold she was until now. She wrapped the jacket around her shoulders. It smelled like him. Clean. Expensive. Safe. They drove for another 30 minutes. Emma's crying finally stopped. Exhaustion took over instead. Her eyelids grew heavy. The adrenaline was wearing off. Her body demanded rest. "You can sleep," Marco said quietly. "We have another hour to drive." "I don't know you," Emma mumbled. Her eyes were already closing. "No, but I'm not the one you're running from." That was true enough. Emma let herself drift. The leather seat was comfortable. The car was warm. For the first time in hours, she felt almost safe. Just before she fell completely asleep, she heard Marco's phone vibrate. Once, twice, 3 times. She heard him pick it up, heard his sharp intake of breath. Then his voice, very quiet, very cold. "Who is this?" Emma tried to open her eyes but could not. Sleep pulled her under like a wave. She did not hear the response, did not see the message on Marco's phone screen, did not see the photo of her in her wedding dress, taken just 2 hours ago at the church, did not see the words below the image. "She belongs to me. Return her or die." Marco stared at the message for a long moment. Then he looked at the woman sleeping in his passenger seat. The runaway bride with bloody feet and a ruined dress. The woman who had stumbled into his path at exactly the wrong moment, or maybe exactly the right moment. He deleted the message, put the phone face down in the cup holder, and pressed harder on the accelerator. Behind them, 3 black SUVs pulled onto the highway. Derek Hawthorne sat in the back of the lead vehicle, his phone in his hand, watching a tracking dot move north on his screen. The tracking device sewn into the hem of Emma's wedding dress was working perfectly. He smiled. "Found you, baby." Beside him, Jessica Reynolds leaned her head on his shoulder. "How long do we let her run?" "Long enough to scare her. Long enough to make her grateful when I find her. Then we bring her home." Derek stroked Jessica's hair absently. "Emma's not smart enough to stay hidden for long. She'll lead us right to whoever picked her up, and then we'll kill them both." "What if it's someone dangerous?" Derek's smile widened. "Then we kill them slowly." The SUVs accelerated, closing the distance. Marco's phone vibrated again. He glanced at it. Another message. This one was from his second-in-command, Luca. 4 vehicles following you, 5 miles back. Want me to intercept?" Marco typed back quickly. "Not yet. Let them follow. I want to know who sent them." He looked at Emma again. She slept deeply now, her face peaceful despite the tear stains. She had no idea who he was, no idea what world she had just stumbled into, no idea that the man who had given her a ride was Marco Valentini, head of the Valentini family, the most powerful crime organization in Chicago, a man whose name made other criminals cross themselves and pray. And she definitely had no idea that by getting into his car, she had just started a war. Marco turned onto a private road. Trees lined both sides, tall and thick. The road wound up into the hills. After 2 miles, gates appeared, 12 feet tall, steel, the kind that could stop a tank. The gates opened automatically. Marco drove through. They closed behind him with a heavy clang. Emma stirred but did not wake. Marco pulled up to a building, not a house, a fortress, stone walls, bulletproof windows, guards at every corner. He parked and looked at the woman in his passenger seat. She was small, delicate, completely out of place in his world. He should drive her to a police station. Let them handle whatever mess she was running from. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the fear in her eyes when she climbed into his car. Maybe it was the blood on her feet. Maybe it was the way she had cried like her heart was breaking into 1,000 pieces. Or maybe it was the message on his phone. She belongs to me. Nobody threatened Marco Valentini. Nobody. He got out of the car, walked around to the passenger side, opened the door carefully. Emma did not wake. The exhaustion had claimed her completely. Marco hesitated for just a second. Then he slid one arm under her knees and the other behind her back. He lifted her out of the car. She weighed almost nothing. Emma's head fell against his chest. She murmured something in her sleep. He could not make out the words. The front door of the fortress opened. A woman in her 50s appeared. Sophia, his housekeeper. She had worked for the Valentini family for 30 years. She had helped raise Marco after his parents died. She was the closest thing to family he had left. Sophia's eyes widened when she saw Emma in Marco's arms. "Who is that?" "Someone who needs help," Marco said simply. "Marco, you can't just bring strangers here. This is—" "I know what this is, Sophia. Prepare the guest room on the second floor, the one with the bathroom attached. Get her clean clothes, and a first aid kit. Her feet are cut up." Sophia looked at Emma's bloody feet and her expression softened. "What happened to her?" "I don't know yet, but someone is hunting her." "Is she in danger?" Marco's jaw tightened. "She is now, because she's with me." He carried Emma inside, up the stairs, down a hallway lined with expensive art, into a bedroom that was bigger than the apartment Emma had lived in back in New York. Marco laid her gently on the bed. She curled immediately onto her side, still sleeping. The ruined wedding dress spread across the white comforter like a broken cloud. Sophia appeared with the first aid kit. She sat on the edge of the bed and carefully cleaned the cuts on Emma's feet. Emma did not wake. She was completely gone. "She's exhausted," Sophia said quietly. "Whatever she's running from, it terrified her." Marco stood at the window, looking out at the dark grounds. His phone vibrated again. He checked it. "Luca, the vehicle stopped at your gates. 4 men got out. Took photos, then left. You want me to follow?" Marco: "Yes. Find out who they are. Find out who they work for. And find out why they want her." He put the phone away and looked at Emma again. She looked so young in sleep. Vulnerable. Innocent. He wondered what she would say when she woke up. Wondered if she would scream. If she would try to run again. If she would realize that she had traded one danger for another. Because Marco Valentini did not save people. He destroyed them. He built his empire on blood and fear. He had killed men with his bare hands. He had burned down buildings with families inside. He had done things that would make Emma Clark run screaming back to whoever was chasing her. But when he looked at her sleeping face, he felt something he had not felt in years. Protectiveness. It was dangerous, stupid, reckless. But Marco had built his entire life on being dangerous. "Sleep," he said quietly, though Emma could not hear him. "Tomorrow we figure out who's after you, and then we make them regret it." He walked out of the room. Sophia followed him. "Should I stay with her?" "No. Let her rest. Lock the door from the outside. I don't want her wandering until we know what we're dealing with." Sophia nodded and left. Marco walked to his office, closed the door, poured himself 3 fingers of scotch and sat behind his desk. He pulled out his phone and looked at the message again. "She belongs to me. Return her or die." He had built his reputation on never backing down from a threat, on crushing anyone who challenged him, on being the monster that other monsters feared. Tomorrow, whoever sent this message would learn why they should have chosen their words more carefully. Because Emma Clark did not belong to anyone, and if someone was coming for her, they would have to go through Marco Valentini first. Outside, hidden in the trees half a mile from the gates, Derek Hawthorne lowered his binoculars. He had watched Marco carry Emma inside, had seen the fortress walls, the guards, the security. He smiled slowly. Well, Emma, you just made things very interesting." Jessica sat beside him in the SUV. "Who lives there?" Derek pulled out his phone, made a call, waited. "I need information on a property, GPS coordinates." He rattled off the numbers, waited again. Then his smile faded. His face went pale. "You're sure?" He hung up, sat very still. "What is it?" Jessica asked. Derek's voice was barely a whisper. "That's Marco Valentini's safe house." Jessica's eyes went wide. "The Marco Valentini?" "The same." They sat in silence. Even Jessica knew that name. Everyone in their world knew that name. Marco Valentini was not just dangerous. He was legendary. Men crossed the street to avoid him. Families paid tribute just to stay off his radar. He controlled everything from Chicago to the Canadian border. "What do we do?" Jessica finally asked. Derek started the engine. "Put the SUV in reverse. We tell Victor Kane, and we let him decide if Emma is worth going to war over." As they drove away, Derek looked back at the fortress one more time. Emma had been his key to everything, his leverage, his way into Victor Kane's organization. The naive little wife who would sign papers and ask no questions and eventually disappear when she was no longer useful. But now she was inside Marco Valentini's walls, which meant Derek's carefully laid plans had just gone up in flames. He pressed harder on the accelerator. The SUVs disappeared into the night. Behind them, Marco stood at his office window, watching, waiting. Let them come, he thought. Let them all come. Because Emma Clark had asked him for help, and Marco Valentini always kept his promises, even the ones he had not actually made yet. Emma opened her eyes to unfamiliar darkness. For a moment she forgot everything. Then it came rushing back. The church. Derek's voice, Jessica's laughter, the highway, the stranger in the black Mercedes, Marco. She sat up fast, her head spun. Where was she? The bedroom was enormous, soft gray walls, a chandelier, king-sized bed with white silk sheets. Everything smelled expensive. Emma looked down. Someone had removed her wedding dress. She now wore cotton pajamas. Her feet were bandaged. Panic shot through her. She ran to the door. Locked. She was trapped. Emma ran to the window. Bars covered the glass. Beyond them, she saw manicured lawns, stone walls, armed guards walking the perimeter. This was not a house. This was a prison. The door opened. Emma spun around. A woman in her 50s stood holding a tray, gray hair in a bun, kind eyes. "Good morning," the woman said gently. "I'm Sophia. I brought breakfast." "Where am I?" "You're safe. That's what matters." Sophia set the tray down. "Coffee, toast, eggs. Please eat something. I need to leave. The men chasing you found this location last night. They know you're here. If you leave, they'll kill you before you reach the main road." Emma's legs gave out. She sank onto the bed. "How do you know my name?" "Marco told me. I washed your feet and bandaged them while you slept. No one else touched you." Sophia moved closer slowly. "Your dress had a tracking device in the hem. That's how they followed you. We burned it." Emma's stomach dropped. Derek had been tracking her the entire time. "I'm going to be sick," Emma whispered. Sophia held a trash can while Emma vomited, then handed her water and a cool cloth. "Eat something," Sophia said again. "Even just the toast." Emma forced down half a piece and some coffee. It helped. "Marco wants to speak with you when you're ready," Sophia said. 20 minutes later, Emma followed Sophia downstairs. Marble floors, museum-quality artwork. Everything beautiful but cold, dangerous. Sophia stopped at double doors, knocked twice. "Come in," Marco's voice called. Sophia opened the doors and left Emma standing alone. Marco sat behind an enormous desk, charcoal suit, hair slightly disheveled like he had been running his hands through it. Tired but sharp eyes. "Sit," he said. Emma sat, her hands twisted in her lap. Marco pushed a folder across the desk. "Open it." Inside were photos, crime scenes, bodies, blood, headlines. Suspected mob hit in Newark. 3 witnesses disappear. Federal investigation into Kane organization. And there was Derek, talking to a man with cold eyes. Victor Kane. "That's your fiancé," Marco said. "Derek Hawthorne. He works for Victor Kane. Kane runs drugs, guns, and human trafficking. Derek is his enforcer, the man who handles problems, permanently. Emma stared at the photos. Her Derek had blood on his hands. The woman here, Marco pointed to another image, Jessica Reynolds. She's been working with Derek for 5 years. She was assigned to befriend you. Assigned? Emma's voice cracked. You were a target from the beginning. Derek didn't choose you randomly. Emma closed the folder. She could not look anymore. Why show me this? Because you need to understand what you're running from. Derek has killed 3 people this week alone. You think he'll hesitate to kill you? Then why keep me here? Why not drop me at a police station? Marco picked up his phone, showed her the screen. She belongs to me. Return her or die. Emma's blood went cold. He sent that to you? To my personal number, which means he knows who I am. Marco's jaw tightened. Nobody threatens me, Emma. Nobody. So I'm bait? You're using me to get to Derek? No. I'm going to find out why Derek wanted you. Then I'm going to destroy him and everyone he works for. Marco's eyes were dark, hard. But I need your help. I don't know anything useful. You know more than you think. His habits, his schedule, his properties. You lived with him for 2 years. I can't. I'm not brave enough. You ran from your wedding. You got into a stranger's car. You're braver than you know. I'm terrified. Good. Fear keeps you alive. Marco stood. Here's what happens. You stay here under my protection. You tell me everything about Derek. And I use that information to take him down. And if I refuse, then I'll still keep you safe. But Derek will keep coming. Eventually he'll get to you. Is that what you want? Emma thought about Derek's voice. She becomes a liability we eliminate. She thought about Jessica's laughter. What do you want to know? Emma asked quietly. Marco pulled out a notebook. Start from the beginning. How did you meet? A charity gala in Manhattan 3 years ago. Jessica brought me. She introduced us. Jessica introduced you? Yes. She said they worked together in commercial real estate. Marco wrote something down. Continue. Derek was charming. Perfect. He made me feel special. Emma's voice grew softer. 6 months later, I moved in with him. He convinced me to quit my job. Said he made enough for both of us. And you agreed? I thought I was in love. Now I know I was being controlled. Marco's expression softened slightly. Manipulation is a weapon, Emma. You're not weak for falling for it. Those words hit hard. Tears filled Emma's eyes. After I quit, Derek moved me to Nevada, away from everyone I knew. He said it was for business, that we'd travel. But you didn't. No, he traveled. I stayed home, alone. Emma paused. About a year ago, he took me to a restaurant, private room, 3 other men. They talked about shipments, routes, someone named Victor. Marco leaned forward. What else? One man asked about a property in Chicago. Derek said it wasn't secure yet. Victor got angry. Said Derek was wasting time and money. Marco's pen stopped moving. Property in Chicago. Did they mention a location? No, but Derek left for Chicago the next week. 5 days. When was this? February. This year. Marco's jaw clenched. What happened when he came back? He proposed. That same night. The wedding was planned in 4 months. Fast. I thought it was romantic. Emma laughed bitterly. I'm an idiot. You're a survivor. Marco closed his notebook. Derek needed a wife for something. A business deal, property transaction. You were the perfect cover. So he never loved me at all. No, he used you. A knock interrupted them. A man walked in without waiting, maybe 30, handsome in a rough way. Short brown hair, intelligent eyes, leather jacket. This is her? He asked Marco. Luca, meet Emma Clark. Emma, this is Luca Harris, my second in command. Luca studied Emma. You've caused quite a commotion, sweetheart. I didn't mean to. Never do. Luca tossed a file onto Marco's desk. Intel on Hawthorne. It's worse than we thought. Marco opened the file. His expression darkened. How many? 15 confirmed kills, maybe more. Kane's enforcer for 7 years. Before that, military. Dishonorable discharge. Emma's hands went numb. 15 people. Derek had killed 15 people. There's more, Luca said. Kane is planning something big, a move on Chicago, our territory. Derek was the inside man. Marco's eyes snapped up. When? Soon, no exact date. But Kane's been buying properties through shell companies. 3 last month. All near our operations. And Emma? Luca glanced at her. Best guess? Derek needed a legitimate wife to purchase property under clean names. Real estate fraud. Money laundering. Emma's name is probably on deeds she doesn't know about. The room spun. What? Marco's voice was gentle. Did Derek ever have you sign papers? Yes, a few times. He said they were insurance documents. I didn't read them carefully. You signed over property rights. He used your clean record to hide his dirty money. Emma stood fast. Too fast. The room tilted. I need air. Marco caught her arm. Easy. Sit down. I helped him. I'm an accomplice. You're a victim. There's a difference. The police won't see it that way. The police aren't going to know. We handle this our way. Emma looked up at him. Those dark eyes held something unexpected. Protection. Why are you doing this? Because Derek threatened me. And now he's going to learn what that costs. Luca cleared his throat. One more thing. Jessica Reynolds. She's Victor Kane's niece. Emma's world shattered again. Jessica was family to Kane. Years of friendship, all orchestrated. Sophia appeared in the doorway. She helped Emma to her feet. Come on, dear. Let's get you some air. As they left, Luca waited until the door closed. You're getting involved, personally. She needs help. We don't do charity work, Marco. Kane is moving on our territory. Derek threatened me directly. This is war. Marco's voice was ice. And Emma is the key to winning it. You sure that's all this is? Marco did not answer. He looked at the closed door. Find out everything about those Chicago properties, Marco said finally. Every address, every transaction. I want Kane's entire operation mapped by tomorrow. And the girl? She stays here, under protection, 24 hours. Luca nodded and left. Marco walked to the window. Outside, Emma stood on the terrace, Sophia beside her. Emma's shoulders shook, crying again. Marco's phone buzzed, unknown number. Enjoying my fiancé? Don't get too attached. I'm coming for her, and when I do, I'll kill everyone in that house, including you. Marco smiled. Not kindly. Come ahead. He typed back. I'm waiting. He deleted the message and headed outside. Emma did not hear him approach. Emma, Marco said quietly. She turned, red eyes from crying. I ruined your life. I'm sorry. You didn't ruin anything. You exposed something that needed dealing with. Derek is going to kill you because of me. Derek is going to try. There's a difference. Marco stepped closer. I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Emma searched his face, looking for lies, for manipulation, but all she saw was cold certainty. I don't have much choice, Emma said. No, but I'm giving you one anyway. Stay here. Help me. When this is over, you'll be free. Truly free. And if you're wrong? If Derek wins? He won't. How can you be sure? Marco's eyes were dark and deadly. Because I've been doing this longer than he has, and I've never lost. Okay, Emma whispered. I'll help you. Marco nodded. Then he placed his hand on her shoulder briefly, reassuring. You're safe here, Emma. I promise. He walked back inside. Sophia squeezed Emma's hand. He means it. Marco doesn't make promises he can't keep. Who is he really? Sophia's smile was sad. Someone who's been hurt before. Someone who forgot how to trust. She looked back at the house. Maybe you'll remind him. Inside, Marco pulled out a secure phone, dialed. Valentini. It's me. We have a problem. Victor Kane is moving on Chicago. I need everything on Derek Hawthorne. Consider it done. Marco hung up, opened his drawer, pulled out a gun, checked the clip. Derek Hawthorne had made a fatal mistake. He had threatened Marco Valentini. And Emma Clark was now under Marco's protection. War was coming, and Marco intended to win. 3 days passed in Marco's fortress. 3 days of Emma learning to exist in a world she never knew existed. She woke each morning to Sophia bringing breakfast. Spent afternoons in the library reading books she could not focus on. Evenings were the hardest. That was when Marco would come to his office and call her in. Every night more questions about Derek. More details extracted from her memory. Emma told him everything. The trips Derek took. The phone calls he would take in another room. The times he came home with blood on his shirt and refused to explain. The names she overheard. The places they visited. Marco wrote it all down. Patient. Methodical. Never rushing her when the memories made her cry. But tonight felt different. Emma sat in the chair across from Marco's desk. He had not asked any questions yet. He just stared at a map spread across his desk. Red pins marked locations across Chicago. Lines connected them. A web of crime she had unknowingly been part of. 7 properties. Marco said finally. All purchased in the last year. All in your name. Emma's stomach twisted. I don't remember signing for 7. You signed blank documents. Derek filled in the details later. Marco looked up. His dark eyes held something close to sympathy. You helped him launder $4 million, Emma. I didn't know. I know. But Kane doesn't care about that. To him, you're a witness, a liability. Even if Derek is eliminated, Kane will still want you dead. Emma's hands shook. She pressed them flat against her thighs. So I can never leave here. Not never. But not yet. Marco stood and walked around the desk. He leaned against it, closer to her now. We're building a case. Luca has contacts in the FBI. Once we have enough evidence, we hand Kane and Derek over. You testify. You get immunity. You get your life back. You make it sound simple. It's not. But it's the only way you survive this. Emma looked up at him. Marco had been nothing but honest with her. Blunt. Sometimes harsh. But never cruel. Never manipulative like Derek had been. Why do you care? Emma asked quietly. You could have left me on that highway. Marco was silent for a long moment. His jaw tightened. I lost someone once. Someone I should have protected. I swore I would never make that mistake again. What happened to her? She trusted the wrong person, and I didn't see it until it was too late. Marco's voice was flat, emotionless, but Emma heard the pain underneath. She died because I failed her. I'm sorry. Don't be. Just stay alive. That's all I ask. A knock on the door interrupted them. Luca walked in holding a tablet. His expression was grim. We have a problem, Luca said. He handed the tablet to Marco. Marco's face darkened as he read. When? 2 hours ago. Kane sent a message to all the families. He's calling you out. Says you kidnapped Derek's fiancée. Says you're holding her against her will. He's demanding her return or he goes to war. Emma's blood went cold. He's lying. I ran away. Doesn't matter, Luca said. Kane is painting you as the victim and Marco as the villain. He's rallying support. 3 families have already pledged to back him. Marco's hand tightened on the tablet. For a moment, Emma thought he might throw it. But he just set it down carefully on the desk. Let him come, Marco said quietly. Too quietly. Marco, if we go to war over a girl, we're not going to war over a girl. We're going to war because Kane is moving on our territory and using Emma as the excuse. Marco's voice was ice. He planned this. Derek was supposed to marry her, use her to buy property, then kill her and blame us. When she ran, Kane adapted. Now she's the damsel, and I'm the monster. So what do? We prove Kane is lying. We show the families exactly what Derek is, what Kane is. Marco looked at Emma, and we let Emma tell her story. Emma's heart raced. Tell who? The families, the heads of every organization in a 5-state radius. They're meeting in 3 days. Neutral ground. Kane will be there. Derek will be there, and you're going to stand in front of all of them and tell them the truth. They'll kill me. No, because I'll be standing right next to you. Marco moved closer. His presence was overwhelming, intense. I'm not going to let anything happen to you, Emma. But I need you to be brave. Can you do that? Emma wanted to say no, wanted to run, wanted to hide. But she thought about Derek, about Jessica, about 3 years of lies and manipulation, about 15 people Derek had killed without hesitation. Yes, Emma whispered. I can do that. Marco nodded once. Good. Luca, arrange security, full detail. And get me everything we have on Derek's kills. Documented proof, photos, witnesses. I want a case so airtight that Kane can't talk his way out of it. On it. Luca left quickly. Emma and Marco were alone again. The silence stretched between them. You should get some rest, Marco said finally. The next few days will be difficult. Emma stood but did not move toward the door. Marco, can I ask you something? Yes. The woman you lost. What was her name? Marco's expression shuddered. For a moment Emma thought he would not answer. Then he said quietly, Isabella. Her name was Isabella. Were you married? Engaged? She was killed 3 days before the wedding. Emma's heart broke for him. Who killed her? My cousin. He wanted control of the family. Thought killing Isabella would break me, make me weak. Marco's smile was cold. He was wrong. What happened to him? I killed him. With my bare hands. Marco said it without emotion, like he was discussing the weather. Does that scare you? It should, Emma said honestly. But no, it doesn't. Marco studied her face. You're stronger than you look, Emma Clark. I'm terrified every second of every day. Being terrified and being strong aren't opposites. Sometimes they're the same thing. Emma moved toward the door but paused. Thank you, Marco, for everything. Don't thank me yet. We're not done. Emma left the office. Sophia was waiting in the hallway. Come, dear, I made tea. Emma followed Sophia to the kitchen. It was warm and bright. The only room in the house that felt normal. Safe. Sophia poured tea and set out cookies. You're doing well. I'm falling apart. You're surviving. There's a difference. Sophia sat across from her. Marco sees it too. Sees what? That you're not like the others. What others? Sophia smiled sadly. Isabella was sweet, kind, gentle. She saw the good in everyone. It got her killed. Marco loved her, but she was never strong enough for his world. You are. I don't feel strong. The strongest people never do. Sophia reached across the table and squeezed Emma's hand. He cares about you. More than he wants to admit. He barely knows me. Marco doesn't need long to read people. It's why he's still alive. Sophia stood and refilled Emma's cup. He's been alone for 5 years. Closed off. Angry. But since you arrived, I've seen him smile. Just once. Just for a second. But it was there. Emma did not know what to say to that. That night, Emma could not sleep. She paced her room until midnight. Finally, she gave up and walked downstairs. Maybe the library would help. Or the kitchen. Anything but lying in the dark with her thoughts. She turned a corner and nearly ran into Marco. He stood in the hallway wearing dark pants and a white shirt. No jacket, sleeves rolled up. His hair was messy like he had been running his hands through it. Can't sleep? Marco asked. No. You? I don't sleep much anymore. They stood in the dim hallway, close enough that Emma could smell his cologne, something clean and expensive. Want some company? Marco asked. I was heading to the den. There's a fireplace. Less depressing than staring at the ceiling. Okay. Emma followed him to a room she had not seen before, smaller than the others, more comfortable. A fire crackled in the stone fireplace. 2 leather chairs faced it. Bookshelves lined the walls. Marco poured 2 glasses of whiskey, handed one to Emma. I don't usually drink, Emma said. Tonight's a good night to start. She sipped it. The burn helped somehow, made her feel more real. They sat in silence for a few minutes, just the crackling fire and the quiet. "Tell me about your life before Derek," Marco said, "before everything went wrong." Emma thought back. It felt like a lifetime ago. "I grew up in Ohio, small town. My dad was a teacher. My mom was a nurse. Normal, boring life." "Sounds nice." It was. I went to college in New York, studied marketing, got a job at a firm, had friends, had a life. Emma stared into the fire. "Then I met Derek and it all disappeared, slowly. So slowly I didn't notice until it was gone. That's how predators work. They isolate you before you realize what's happening. You sound like you know from experience." "I do, just from the other side." Marco swirled his whiskey. "I've built my life on control, on reading people, on knowing their weaknesses and exploiting them. I'm not a good man, Emma. You saved me. I saved you because Derek threatened me. Don't make me into a hero." "Then what are you?" Marco looked at her. The firelight reflected in his dark eyes. "I'm the monster that other monsters fear." Emma should have been terrified, should have run, but instead, she felt safer than she had in years. "I don't think you're a monster," Emma said quietly. "You don't know me. I know you've kept me safe. Fed me, protected me. You didn't have to do any of that." "Yes, I did." "Why?" Marco set down his glass, leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, his gaze locked on hers. "Because when I look at you, I see someone worth protecting, and I haven't felt that way about anyone in 5 years. Emma's breath caught. The air between them felt electric, charged. Marco stood abruptly. "You should get some rest. Tomorrow we start preparing for the meeting." Emma stood too. They were close now. Too close. She could feel the heat from his body. "Marco," Emma whispered. He looked down at her. His jaw was tight. His hands were clenched at his sides, like he was holding himself back from something. "Good night, Emma," he said firmly. Then he walked out, leaving Emma alone by the fire. She touched her lips. For a moment she had thought he might kiss her. For a moment she had wanted him to. What was happening to her? Derek had nearly gotten her killed. Jessica had betrayed her. Her entire life was destroyed. And yet, standing close to Marco Valentini felt like the safest place in the world. Emma returned to her room. This time, sleep came easier. Downstairs, Marco stood in his office. His hands gripped the edge of his desk. His breathing was uneven. He had almost kissed her, almost pulled her close and claimed her mouth, almost forgotten every rule he had built for himself. Emma Clark was dangerous. Not because she was Derek's ex-fiancée. Not because she was caught in a mob war, but because she made Marco feel something he thought died with Isabella. Hope. And hope was the most dangerous thing of all. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. 3 days, Valentini. Then I take back what's mine. And I'll enjoy making you watch her die. Marco's jaw clenched. He typed back one word. Try. Then he locked his office and went upstairs. He paused outside Emma's door. Heard her breathing. Soft, even. Asleep. He placed his hand flat against the door for just a moment. I won't let him touch you, Marco whispered. I promise. Then he walked to his own room. 3 days until the meeting. 3 days to prepare Emma. 3 days until Derek tried to take her back. Marco Valentini had faced down armies, had survived assassination attempts, had built an empire on blood and fear. But protecting Emma Clark felt more important than all of it combined, and that terrified him more than any enemy ever had. The next 2 days passed in a blur of preparation. Marco trained Emma on what to say at the meeting, how to stand, how to speak, how to look the most dangerous men in the country in the eyes and not flinch. They'll try to intimidate you, Marco said during one of their sessions. Kane will call you a liar. Derek will play the heartbroken fiancé. You need to stay calm. I don't know if I can. Yes, you can. You've already survived worse than a room full of old men in expensive suits. Emma wanted to believe him. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw Derek's face, heard his voice. She becomes a liability we eliminate. On the second night, Luca brought more files, more evidence against Derek, photos of his victims, testimony from witnesses who had barely escaped, financial records showing the money trail from Kane through Derek to the shell companies in Emma's name. "This is solid," Luca said, spreading the documents across Marco's desk. "FBI will take the case." Emma testifies. She gets full immunity. "If we survive the meeting," Marco said. "You really think Kane will try something at a neutral sit-down?" "I think Kane is desperate. Desperate men do stupid things." Emma sat quietly in the corner of the office listening. She had become part of their world now, part of the strategy sessions, the planning. Marco no longer sent her away when business was discussed. "Double the security," Marco ordered. "I want armed escorts from here to the meeting location. Sweep the building before we arrive, and keep a vehicle ready for extraction if things go wrong." "You expecting a war?" Luca asked. "I'm expecting Kane to be Kane." After Luca left, Marco poured himself a drink. He looked exhausted, lines of tension around his eyes. He had barely slept in days. "You should rest," Emma said softly. "I'll rest when this is over." "Marco, you're running yourself into the ground." He looked at her. Something flickered in his dark eyes. "I can't afford to make mistakes. Not with your life on the line. You've done everything you can. It's not enough. It's never enough." Marco set down his glass hard. "Isabella died because I missed something. One detail, one person I should have suspected. I won't make that mistake again." Emma stood and walked to him. She placed her hand on his arm. "I'm not Isabella, and this isn't the same situation. No, it's worse. Because this time Marco stopped himself, pulled away from her touch. "You should get some sleep. Tomorrow is the meeting." Emma wanted to push, wanted to ask what he was about to say, but the walls were back up. Marco's face was cold again, closed off. "Good night, Marco," Emma said quietly. She left the office, but she did not go to her room. Something felt wrong, off. She could not explain it, but her instincts screamed danger. Emma walked to the library instead. Curled up in a chair by the window, watched the guards patrol the grounds. Everything looked normal, but it did not feel normal. At 2 in the morning, Emma's instincts proved right. The explosion rocked the entire house. Emma was thrown from the chair, glass shattered. Alarms screamed. She hit the floor hard, her ears ringing. Gunfire erupted. Automatic weapons. Close. Too close. Emma crawled toward the door. Her hands were cut from the glass. Blood smeared across the marble floor. "Emma!" Marco's voice roared through the chaos. She looked up. Marco appeared in the doorway, gun in hand. His shirt was torn. Blood stained his shoulder. "Are you hit?" Marco demanded. "No, I don't think so." He pulled her to her feet. "Stay behind me. We're getting out of here." They ran down the hallway. More gunfire, shouting, men screaming. The house was under full assault. Luca appeared from a side corridor. He was bleeding from a cut on his forehead. They breached the south wall. At least 20 men, maybe more. "How did they get through our defenses?" Marco demanded. "Someone gave them the security codes. We have a traitor." Marco's face went deadly. "Get Emma to the safe room." "No," Emma said. "I'm not hiding while you fight." "Emma, this is not a debate. They're here for me. If I hide, more of your men will die. Better them than you." The coldness in his voice should have scared her, but Emma understood. Marco would burn the world down to keep her safe. Another explosion, closer this time. The lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in. Red. Pulsing. "South corridor is compromised," Luca said. "We need to move now." Marco grabbed Emma's hand. They ran. Downstairs, through a kitchen, past bodies of guards who had not been fast enough. Emma tried not to look, tried not to think about the men dying because of her. They reached a heavy steel door. Marco entered a code. The door opened to reveal a tunnel. Dark, narrow. Emergency lighting along the floor. "This leads to the garage," Marco said. "There's a car waiting, bulletproof. Full tank. We drive to the safe house in the mountains. What about Sophia? Emma asked suddenly. Where's Sophia? She left yesterday to visit her sister. She's safe. Thank God. They ran through the tunnel. Behind them, more explosions. The fortress was being destroyed. They emerged in an underground garage. 3 vehicles. Marco led Emma to a black armored SUV. Luca got in the driver's seat. Marco pushed Emma into the back and climbed in beside her. The garage door opened. Luca floored it. They burst out into the night. Bullets pinged off the armored exterior. Marco shielded Emma with his body, pressing her down into the seat. Drive, Marco ordered. Luca drove like a man possessed, weaving, accelerating. The SUV's engine roared. Behind them, 3 vehicles gave chase. They're following, Luca said. Marco pulled out his phone, made a call. Burn it. Burn everything. Leave nothing for Kane. He hung up and looked at Emma. In the dim light, his face was hard, but his hand was gentle as he checked her for injuries. You're bleeding, he said, looking at her cut hands. I'm fine. You're not fine. None of this is fine. Marco's voice was tight, controlled, barely. Someone betrayed us. Someone inside my organization gave Kane our location, our security codes, everything. Who? I don't know yet, but I will. And when I do, they'll beg for death. The violence in his voice should have terrified Emma, but she felt only relief. Relief that Marco was alive, that they had escaped. They drove for 3 hours into the mountains. The pursuing vehicles eventually fell back, lost them in the winding roads. Finally, Luca pulled up to a cabin, small, isolated, surrounded by trees. This is it? Emma asked. Safest place I own, Marco said. No one knows about it except Luca and me. We'll be secure here while we figure out our next move. They got out of the SUV. Emma's legs were shaking. Adrenaline crash. She stumbled. Marco caught her. I've got you. He carried her inside. The cabin was rustic but comfortable. Fireplace, kitchen, 2 bedrooms. Marco set Emma on the couch. Luca brought a first aid kit. I'll do a perimeter check, Luca said. Make sure we're alone. He left. Marco knelt in front of Emma and began cleaning the cuts on her hands. His touch was careful, precise. He worked in silence, his jaw tight. Marco, Emma said softly. Don't what? Don't tell me it's not my fault. Don't tell me everything will be okay. Don't. His voice cracked, just for a second. I almost lost you tonight, again. But you didn't. I'm here. I'm alive. Marco looked up at her. The walls were gone. For the first time, Emma saw past the cold exterior, saw the fear, the desperation. I can't do this, Marco whispered. I can't care about someone again. It's too dangerous, too painful. Then why do you? Because I can't help it. Marco's hands tightened on hers. From the moment you got in my car, I was lost, and I don't know how to protect you if you're what? If I'm falling for you. The words hung between them. Raw, honest, terrifying. Emma's breath caught. Her heart pounded. Marco, He kissed her. It was not gentle. It was desperate, hungry. Years of loneliness and pain poured into that kiss. Marco's hands cupped her face. Emma's fingers tangled in his hair. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. I'm sorry, Marco said. I shouldn't have. Emma kissed him again, softer this time. Don't apologize. Don't you dare apologize. Marco rested his forehead against hers. This is insane. I know. You deserve better than a man like me. Maybe I don't want better. Maybe I want you. Marco's arms wrapped around her, pulled her close. For a moment, they just held each other. 2 broken people finding something whole in the wreckage. The door opened. Luca walked in and froze. Oh, sorry, I'll just report, Marco said, not letting go of Emma. Luca cleared his throat. Perimeter is secure. No signs of pursuit. I swept for tracking devices. We're clean. Good. Get some rest. We'll figure out our next move in the morning. Luca nodded and disappeared into one of the bedrooms. Marco and Emma sat on the couch. The fire crackled. Outside, wind howled through the trees. "What happens now?" Emma asked. "Now we wait. Luca is running down leads on who betrayed us. Once we know, we eliminate the threat. Then we go after Kane and Derek. The meeting is off. Kane violated neutral ground rules by attacking my home. The other families won't stand for it. He's made himself a target." Emma leaned against Marco's shoulder, exhausted, terrified, but somehow safe. "Stay with me tonight," Marco said quietly. "I need to know you're safe." "Okay." They moved to the second bedroom. Marco gave Emma clean clothes, tended her wounds properly. Then they lay down on the bed, not touching, not crossing any lines. But Emma felt Marco's presence, solid, protective, real. "Marco," Emma whispered in the darkness. "Yes? Thank you. For everything. Don't thank me yet. This is far from over." Emma drifted towards sleep, but Marco's phone buzzed. He checked it. His entire body went rigid. "What is it?" Emma asked. Marco's voice was ice. "Luca just sent intel. Derek made a deal with the Romanov family, Russian mob. They're backing Kane's move on Chicago, and there's more." "What?" "Jessica. She's not just Kane's niece. She's been running a network inside my organization for 2 years. She's the one who gave them our security codes. She's the traitor." Emma's blood went cold. Jessica, her best friend, had been sabotaging Marco from the inside. "There's something else," Marco said. His voice was deadly quiet. "Jessica sent a message to Derek tonight. It says, 'I'm sorry it had to be this way. Derek loves me, not you, and now you're going to die for getting in our way. We're coming for you tonight.'" Emma's phone, which Luca had recovered from her things, suddenly lit up on the nightstand. A text message from Jessica. Emma picked it up with shaking hands, read the message aloud. "I almost feel bad, Em. You were so easy to manipulate, so desperate for a friend. Derek and I laughed about it every night. You were our favorite joke. Sleep well, if you can." Emma dropped the phone. Tears streamed down her face. 3 years. 3 years of friendship. All a lie. All a game. Marco pulled her close, let her cry against his chest. His hand stroked her hair. "She's going to pay," Marco said quietly. "They're all going to pay. I promise you that." But even as he held Emma, Marco's mind was racing. The Romanovs changed everything. They were vicious, powerful. Allied with Kane, they could actually threaten Marco's empire. This was no longer just about Emma. This was war, and Marco Valentini intended to win, no matter the cost. Emma woke to the smell of coffee and the sound of voices. She sat up slowly. Her body ached from the night before. The cuts on her hands were bandaged properly now. She walked to the main room. Marco and Luca stood over a table covered in maps and photographs. Both men looked like they had not slept. "Morning," Luca said, handing her a cup of coffee. "There's food in the kitchen." Emma took the coffee gratefully. "What's happening?" Marco looked up. His eyes were dark, determined. "We're ending this, today." "Today?" "Kane thinks we're hiding, thinks the attack broke us. He's wrong." Marco pointed to the map. "This warehouse, south side of Chicago. Kane is meeting with the Romanovs tonight. Final negotiations. Derek will be there. Jessica will be there. We're going to hit them before they're ready." Emma's heart raced. "That's suicide. You said they have 20 men, maybe more." "We'll have more," Luca said. Marco called in favors. 5 families pledged support once they heard Kane violated neutral ground. "We'll have 40 men, armed, trained. But you'll still be outnumbered if the Romanovs bring their people. Then we'll be smart about it." Marco's voice was steel. "Luca will lead the main assault, draw their attention. I'll go in through the back with a smaller team. We eliminate Kane and Derek before the Romanovs can react." "And Jessica?" Marco's expression darkened. "Jessica is mine. She betrayed my family, my home. That requires a personal response." Emma set down her coffee. Her hands were shaking. "I want to help." Both men looked at her. Emma, no, Marco said firmly. Yes, Derek used me. Jessica manipulated me for 3 years. I deserve to face them. You're not trained for this. You'll get yourself killed. Then train me. You have all day. Marco opened his mouth to argue. But something in Emma's eyes stopped him. She was done running, done being a victim, done letting other people fight her battles. Fine, Marco said. But you follow my orders exactly. No improvisation, no heroics. Understood? Understood. Luca grinned. I like her. Shut up, Luca. They spent the afternoon preparing. Luca went to coordinate with the other families. Marco stayed with Emma. He took her to the back of the property, set up targets, handed her a handgun. Have you ever fired a weapon? Marco asked. Once, at a shooting range with my dad when I was 16. Good, then you know the basics. Marco moved behind her, his chest against her back. His arms came around her, adjusting her grip on the weapon. Feel the weight. Respect it. This isn't a toy. Every bullet you fire could end a life. Emma's breath caught. Not from fear. From proximity. Marco's breath was warm on her neck. His body was solid against hers. Focus, Marco said quietly. His voice had dropped lower. See the target. Breathe. Squeeze the trigger. Don't pull. Squeeze. Emma fired. The recoil jolted through her arms. She missed the target completely. Again, Marco said. He adjusted her stance, his hands on her hips now. Balance your weight, both feet planted. You're stronger than you think. Emma fired again. This time she hit the edge of the target. Better. Again. They practiced for 2 hours. By the end, Emma could hit the center of the target 4 out of 5 times. Her arms ached, her ears rang despite the protection, but she felt powerful, capable. You're a fast learner, Marco said. He reloaded the weapon and handed it back to her. But shooting targets is different from shooting people. When the moment comes, you'll hesitate. Everyone does the first time. What if I freeze? Then I'll be there. I won't let anything happen to you. Marco stepped closer. His hand cupped her face. Emma, if this goes wrong tonight, if something happens to me, I need you to promise me something. Don't talk like that. Promise me you'll survive, that you'll run, that you'll live the life you deserve. Tears filled Emma's eyes. I can't lose you. You won't. But if... Emma kissed him. Hard, desperate, trying to pour every feeling she could not say into that kiss. When they broke apart, Marco rested his forehead against hers. I wasn't supposed to feel this way about you. I wasn't supposed to feel this way about anyone after Derek. We're a mess. The best kind of mess. Marco smiled. Actually smiled. It transformed his entire face. Made him look younger, almost happy. Come on, he said. We have a few more hours. Let me teach you how to move in combat situations. They trained until sunset. Marco taught Emma how to stay low, how to move quietly, how to take cover, how to reload under pressure. By the time Luca returned, Emma was exhausted but ready. Everyone's in position, Luca reported. We move in 1 hour. Marco nodded. He turned to Emma. Last chance to back out. I'm going. Then gear up. They gave Emma a bulletproof vest, a comm device for her ear, the handgun she had trained with, extra ammunition. Marco checked her vest twice, adjusted the straps. His hands lingered longer than necessary. Stay close to me, he said, always within arm's reach. If I tell you to run, you run. No arguments. Okay. I'm serious, Emma. I can't focus on the mission if I'm worried about you. Emma placed her hand over his. I trust you. Completely. Something shifted in Marco's eyes. He pulled her close. Kissed her one more time. Slowly, like he was memorizing the feel of her. Let's end this, Marco said. They drove into Chicago in separate vehicles. Marco, Emma, and 3 of Marco's most trusted men in one SUV. Luca led the main force in 4 other vehicles. The warehouse district was abandoned at night. Perfect for illegal meetings. Perfect for an ambush. They parked 2 blocks away, moved on foot through shadows and alleys. Emma's heart pounded so hard she thought everyone could hear it. But she kept moving, kept breathing, kept her hand steady on the weapon. Marco held up a fist. Everyone stopped. He pointed to the warehouse ahead. Lights in the windows. Vehicles parked outside. Guards at the entrance. Luca's voice came through the comms. "In position, waiting on your signal." Marco looked at his watch. 30 seconds. Emma crouched beside him. Their shoulders touched. She drew strength from his presence. 20 seconds. Emma checked her weapon one more time. Safety off, round chambered. 10 seconds. Marco looked at her, mouthed 3 words. "Stay with me." 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Explosions rocked the front of the warehouse. Luca's team had breached. Gunfire erupted immediately. Shouting. Chaos. "Now," Marco said. They moved fast, around the back of the building, a side door. Marco's man picked the lock in seconds. They slipped inside. The warehouse was enormous. Stacked crates, shipping containers, catwalks above. And in the center, a group of men around a table. Emma recognized Derek immediately. Her stomach twisted. He looked the same, handsome, confident, a monster in an expensive suit. Beside him stood Jessica. Her former best friend wore a tight dress and a cruel smile. She was laughing at something Derek said. Victor Kane sat at the head of the table. Older, gray hair, cold eyes, the kind of man who ordered deaths over breakfast, and across from them, 3 men Emma did not recognize. Russian accents carried across the warehouse. The Romanovs. The front entrance exploded inward. Luca's team poured in. Gunfire filled the air. Kane's men returned fire. The Romanovs drew weapons. The warehouse became a war zone. Marco moved like a predator. Precise, efficient. 2 of Kane's men went down before they even saw him coming. Emma stayed close, her weapon raised, watching Marco's back. Derek saw them. His eyes widened, then narrowed. "Marco Valentini, should have known you'd come yourself." "You threatened me, Derek. Bad decision." Derek smiled, drew his weapon. "And you fell for her. Even worse decision." He fired. Marco shoved Emma behind a crate. Bullets sparked off metal. Emma's ears rang. "Stay down," Marco ordered, but Emma saw movement above them. One of the Romanovs on the catwalk, aiming at Marco's back. Emma did not think. She raised her weapon, aimed, fired. The Russian fell, dead before he hit the ground. Marco turned, saw what she had done. Good shot. More of Kane's men rushed their position. Marco and his team engaged. The fighting was brutal. Close quarters. No room for error. Emma fired when she had clear shots. Mostly she stayed in cover. Reloaded when Marco told her to. Moved when he moved. They were winning. Kane's forces were being pushed back. The Romanovs were retreating. Luca's voice came through the comms. "Kane is down. Repeat, Kane is down." Victory was close. Emma could feel it. Then someone grabbed her from behind. An arm locked around her throat. A gun pressed against her temple. "Drop it!" Derek's voice hissed in her ear. "Drop the weapon or I paint the walls with her brain." Emma froze. The gun fell from her hands. Marco spun around. His weapon came up, but he could not fire, not without hitting Emma. Derek dragged Emma backward, into the open center of the warehouse, away from cover. "That's far enough, Valentini," Derek called out. "Everybody stop shooting or she dies." The gunfire slowed, stopped. Luca's team held position. Marco's men froze. Derek pressed the gun harder against Emma's head. She could barely breathe. His arm was too tight around her throat. "Did you really think you could take her from me?" Derek laughed. "She's mine. She's always been mine." "Let her go, Derek," Marco said. His voice was calm, controlled, but Emma saw the fury in his eyes. "This is between you and me." "Oh, but she's part of it now. My beautiful Emma, my perfect wife." Derek's breath was hot on Emma's neck. "We had such plans, didn't we, baby? The wedding, the honeymoon, then your convenient accident. So tragic." "You're insane," Emma choked out. "I'm practical." "You were a means to an end. But you know what? I think I'll keep you alive a little longer." Make you watch while I kill your new boyfriend. Would you like that? Footsteps approached. Jessica appeared from behind a shipping container. Her dress was torn, blood on her lip, but she was smiling. "Hello, Emma," Jessica said. Her voice dripped with mockery. "Miss me? You were my best friend. I was your handler. God, you were so easy to manipulate, so desperate to be loved. Derek and I used to laugh about it every night, about how pathetic you were." Tears stung Emma's eyes. Not from sadness, from rage. 3 years, Emma said, her voice shaking. 3 years of lies. Best performance of my life. Jessica moved closer, stood beside Derek. Uncle Victor paid me well, and Derek was a nice bonus. Young, attractive, good in bed. You were just the mark. Derek's arm tightened. Emma gasped for air. Marco took a step forward. "Derek, look at me. This ends one of 2 ways. You let her go and walk away, or you die here tonight. I'm holding all the cards, Valentini." "Are you?" Marco's smile was cold. "Look around. Kane is dead. Your men are dead. The Romanovs ran. It's just you, Jessica, and my 40 armed soldiers. You think you're walking out of here?" Derek's confidence wavered. Emma felt it. His grip loosened slightly. "I have Emma. You won't risk her life." "Won't I?" Marco's eyes were ice. "I've killed for less." "What's one more body?" Emma's blood went cold. Was Marco bluffing? Or was he serious? "You're lying," Derek said, but he sounded uncertain. "Try me." Jessica shifted nervously. "Derek, maybe we should—" "Shut up." Derek's control was slipping. Emma felt the gun shaking against her head. "I'm in control here. I decide what happens." Marco took another step forward. "Then decide, because my patience is running out." Derek's hand trembled. His breathing was ragged. He was panicking. Emma remembered Marco's training. When your enemy panics, they make mistakes. She made her decision. Emma drove her heel down hard on Derek's instep. He howled. His grip loosened. She dropped her weight, slipping from his arm. Threw herself to the side. Marco fired. Derek staggered. Blood bloomed across his chest. He looked down in shock. The gun fell from his hand. "You shot me," Derek whispered. "You actually shot me. I told you what would happen." Marco's voice was ice. Derek collapsed. Blood pooled beneath him. His eyes were wide, confused, like he could not believe this was how it ended. Jessica screamed. She lunged for Derek's dropped weapon, but Luca was faster. He tackled her, twisted her arm behind her back. She fought like a wildcat, screaming, spitting, cursing. "Get her out of here," Marco ordered. "The FBI will want to talk to her." Luca dragged Jessica away. Her screams echoed through the warehouse. "This isn't over. You hear me, Emma? This isn't over. I'll kill you. I'll kill you both." Then she was gone. The warehouse was silent except for the groans of wounded men. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had called the police. "We need to go," Luca said through the comms. "Now." Marco walked to Emma. She was shaking, staring at Derek's body, at the man who had controlled her life for 3 years, the man who had planned to kill her. He was just lying there, empty, gone. "Emma," Marco said gently. He touched her arm. "We have to leave." She nodded numbly. Let Marco guide her out of the warehouse, into the SUV, away from the carnage. They drove in silence. Emma's hands would not stop shaking. Marco held one of them, squeezed gently. "You saved yourself," Marco said quietly. "That move, that was all you." "I killed him." "No, I killed him. You gave yourself a chance to survive. There's a difference." Emma did not know if that was true, did not know how to feel. Relief, guilt, freedom, all of it. None of it. They reached the cabin as the sun began to rise. Luca stayed behind to coordinate with the FBI, to make sure Emma's testimony would be heard, that she would get her immunity. Marco led Emma inside. She was still shaking, still covered in blood, some of it Derek's, some from her reopened cuts. Come on, Marco said. Let's get you cleaned up. He ran a bath, helped her out of the tactical gear, left her alone to wash away the night. Emma sat in the hot water and cried, great heaving sobs that shook her entire body. 3 years of pain, of manipulation, of fear, all pouring out. When she finally emerged, Marco was waiting with clean clothes, warm soup, a blanket. He wrapped her up and held her on the couch, did not speak, did not push, just let her exist. Is it really over? Emma finally whispered. It's over. Kane is dead. Derek is dead. Jessica will spend the rest of her life in prison. The Romanovs retreated. The other families acknowledged our victory. Chicago is secure. And me? You're free. The FBI has everything they need. Your testimony will be a formality. You'll get full immunity. You can go anywhere, be anyone, start over. Emma pulled back, looked at Marco's face. What if I don't want to start over somewhere else? Emma, what if I want to stay, here, with you? Marco's jaw tightened. You don't know what you're saying. You've been through trauma. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking more clearly than I have in years. Emma took his face in her hands. You saved me, Marco. Not just from Derek, from myself. You made me strong again, made me believe I was worth protecting. I'm not leaving you. I'm dangerous. I know. My world is violent, dark. You deserve better. I deserve to choose, and I choose you. Marco's control finally broke. He kissed her desperately, pulled her close, let himself feel what he had been fighting for weeks. I love you, Marco whispered against her lips. God help me, I love you. I love you too. They held each other as the sun rose, two broken people who had found something whole in the wreckage. Outside, the world kept turning, but in that cabin, Emma Clark and Marco Valentini found something neither had believed possible. Peace. 3 months later, Emma stood on the balcony of a house she barely recognized as the same fortress where this had all begun. The walls had been rebuilt. The damage from Kane's attack erased, but something fundamental had changed. The house no longer felt like a prison, it felt like a home. Marco found her there, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and pink. You're thinking too loud, he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Emma leaned back against his chest. Just remembering. The attack? Everything. The church. The highway. That first night when I woke up terrified in a strange room. She turned in his arms. I thought my life was over. Turns out it was just beginning. Marco kissed her forehead. The FBI called. Jessica's trial date is set. They want you to testify next month. Emma nodded. She had known this was coming. Will you come with me? Every step of the way. The past 3 months had been a whirlwind. Emma had spent hours with federal prosecutors, giving testimony, signing documents, providing evidence against what remained of Kane's organization. The investigation had uncovered dozens of illegal operations, hundreds of shell companies, millions in laundered money. Emma's name had been cleared completely. The properties Derek had purchased in her name had been seized as evidence. She was officially a witness under federal protection, not a criminal. But more than that, she was free. Free from Derek, free from fear, free to build a new life. And she had chosen to build it with Marco. Luca called earlier, Marco said. He's back from Miami. The Romanovs sent a formal peace offering. They're staying out of Chicago permanently. That's good news. It's over, Emma. Really over. No more threats. No more wars. Just life. Emma studied Marco's face. The hard edges had softened over the past 3 months. He smiled more, laughed occasionally. The walls he had built around his heart had crumbled completely. I have something to tell you, Emma said. Marco's expression became concerned. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Actually, everything is right. Emma took his hand and placed it on her stomach. We're going to have a baby. Marco froze. His eyes went wide. You're pregnant? 8 weeks. I found out yesterday. I wanted to wait until we were alone to tell you. For a moment, Marco said nothing. He just stared at her stomach like he could not quite believe what she had said. Then his face transformed. Joy. Pure, unfiltered joy. Emma had never seen him look like that. We're having a baby, Marco whispered. He dropped to his knees and pressed his forehead against her stomach. I'm going to be a father. Tears filled Emma's eyes. Are you happy? Marco looked up at her. His own eyes were wet. Happy doesn't begin to cover it. Terrified, amazed, grateful, all of it. He stood and pulled Emma into his arms, held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. I love you, Marco said. Both of you. We love you too. They stood there as the sun set completely, wrapped in each other and the promise of the future. That night, Marco made a decision. He called a meeting with his top lieutenants, Luca, 3 other men who had been with the Valentini family for decades. I'm stepping back, Marco announced. The room went silent. What do you mean stepping back? One of the men asked. I mean I'm done with the day-to-day operations. Luca will take over as head of the family. I'll maintain advisory capacity. Final say on major decisions. But I'm not running things anymore. Why? Luca asked, though his expression said he already knew. Because I'm going to be a father. And I want to be present for it. I want to watch my child grow up. I want to have dinner with my family without worrying about assassination attempts. I want a different life. You've earned it, Luca said. Hell, you've more than earned it. The other men agreed. Marco had led them for over a decade, had built an empire, had kept them safe and prosperous. If he wanted to step back, they would support him. To Marco, Luca raised a glass. The best boss we've ever had. To new beginnings, Marco corrected. They drank. Then Marco returned to Emma. 2 weeks later, Marco took Emma to a small chapel an hour outside the city. It was nothing like the grand church where Emma was supposed to marry Derek. This chapel was simple. Stone walls, wooden pews, stained glass windows that cast colored light across the floor. Only a handful of people attended. Luca, Sophia, a few of Marco's most trusted friends. Emma's mother, who had flown in from Ohio and cried when she saw her daughter happy again. Emma wore a simple white dress. Not a wedding gown, just a dress that made her feel beautiful. No veil, no train, no pretense. Marco wore a dark suit. He stood at the altar looking nervous for the first time since Emma had met him. When Emma walked down the aisle, there was no music, no fanfare. Just the sound of her footsteps and Marco's sharp intake of breath. She reached him, took his hands. They were shaking. You okay? Emma whispered. I'm about to marry the woman I love. I'm better than okay. The ceremony was short. Simple vows, no elaborate speeches, just promises. I promise to protect you, Marco said. To honor you, to love you for the rest of my life. You saved me, Emma. You made me believe I could be more than what I was. I will spend every day proving I'm worthy of you. Emma's voice shook as she spoke. I promise to stand with you, to trust you, to love you completely. You showed me what real strength looks like, what real love feels like. You gave me my life back, and now I'm giving you my heart, forever. They exchanged simple gold bands. The priest pronounced them husband and wife. Marco kissed Emma like she was oxygen and he had been drowning. The small group cheered. Sophia cried. Emma's mother hugged them both. Afterward, they had a quiet dinner at Marco's favorite restaurant, the one he had closed for the night so they could celebrate privately. To the happy couple, Luca toasted, May your life together be boring and peaceful. Everyone laughed. In their world, boring and peaceful was the highest blessing. Emma leaned against Marco's shoulder. His hand rested on her stomach. Their baby. Their future. Thank you, Emma whispered. For what? For stopping that day. For picking me up. For giving me a chance at this life. Marco kissed the top of her head. Best decision I ever made. 6 months later, Emma went into labor at 3 in the morning. Marco drove to the hospital like a man possessed. Broke at least a dozen traffic laws. Did not care. Luca met them at the emergency entrance. I called ahead. They're ready for you. Emma squeezed Marco's hand as another contraction hit. You're going to break the speed limit and then follow every hospital rule? I'm a complicated man. Despite the pain, Emma laughed. The labor was long, difficult. Emma had never experienced pain like this. But every time she thought she could not go on, Marco was there, holding her hand, wiping her forehead, telling her how strong she was. "I can't do this," Emma gasped after 8 hours. "Yes, you can. You're the strongest person I know. You survived Derek. You survived a mob war. You can survive this. That's not encouraging. You're right. Let me try again. You're beautiful. I love you. And in a few minutes, we're going to meet our daughter." Daughter. They had found out 2 months ago. A girl. Emma pushed, screamed, cried, pushed again. And then, finally, a new sound filled the room. A baby crying. "She's here," the doctor said. "She's perfect." They placed the tiny, squirming bundle on Emma's chest. Emma looked down at her daughter, and her entire world shifted. She was so small, so perfect. Dark hair like Marco. But Emma's eyes, blue and bright and beautiful. Marco leaned over them both. His hand touched the baby's tiny head. Tears streamed down his face. "She's perfect," Marco whispered. "She's absolutely perfect." "What's her name?" the nurse asked. Emma and Marco had discussed this, had gone through dozens of options, but in the end, they had chosen one that meant something. "Isabella," Emma said. "Isabella Sofia Valentini." Marco's breath caught. Isabella, after the woman he had loved and lost. Sofia, after the woman who had been like a mother to him. "Perfect," Marco said. His voice broke. "It's perfect." They spent the next hour just staring at their daughter, marveling at her tiny fingers, her little nose, the way she yawned and stretched. Luca and Sofia came to visit. Sofia cried when she heard the baby's name, held little Isabella like she was made of glass. "She's going to be spoiled," Sofia said. "I'm going to make sure of it." "You're going to be the best grandmother ever," Emma said. Sofia beamed. 2 days later, Emma and Marco brought Isabella home. Marco had renovated one of the bedrooms into a nursery, soft yellow walls, a crib that had cost more than most cars, toys and books already lining the shelves. Emma placed Isabella in the crib. The baby slept peacefully, unaware of how much her parents' lives had changed because of her. Marco wrapped his arms around Emma from behind. They stood there watching their daughter sleep. "I never thought I'd have this," Marco said quietly. "A wife, a child, a real family. After Isabella died, I thought that part of my life was over. And now? Now I have everything I never knew I needed." Marco turned Emma to face him. "You gave me this. You gave me hope. You gave me love. You gave me a reason to be better than I was. You were always good, Marco. You just needed someone to remind you." They stood in the nursery as the sun set outside. Isabella slept peacefully. Emma leaned against Marco's chest. His hand rested on her hip. This was peace. This was happiness. This was everything they had fought for. 3 years later, Emma sat in the garden of their home reading a book while Isabella played nearby. Isabella was 3 now. Dark curls, bright blue eyes, her father's determination and her mother's kindness. She was perfect. "Mama, look." Isabella held up a flower. "It's pretty. It's beautiful, baby. Just like you." Isabella giggled and ran off to find more flowers. Marco appeared carrying lemonade and cookies. He set them on the table and sat beside Emma. Luca called. "The Chicago Tribune is doing a piece on the city's transformation. Lower crime rates, safer neighborhoods. They want to interview me. Will you do it?" "Maybe, as long as they don't dig too deep into why things changed." Marco smiled. Some secrets are better left buried. Emma knew what he meant. The past 3 years had seen massive changes. Marco's decision to step back had rippled through the entire organization. Focus had shifted from violence to legitimate businesses, protection to community investment. Chicago was safer, stronger, better. And the Valentini name was slowly becoming associated with philanthropy instead of fear. "Isabella wants a little brother or sister," Emma said casually. Marco nearly dropped his lemonade. "She does?" "She told me this morning, said she wants someone to play with." "And what did you tell her?" Emma smiled. took Marco's hand and placed it on her stomach. I told her she'd have to wait about 7 more months. Marco's eyes went wide. You're pregnant again? Surprise. Marco laughed, pulled Emma into his arms, kissed her thoroughly. You're incredible. You know that? I've been told. Isabella ran over. Daddy, why are you kissing Mama? Because I love her very much. Can I have a cookie? Yes. But just one before dinner. Isabella grabbed a cookie and ran off, already distracted by a butterfly. Marco watched his daughter play, then looked at his wife. His hand rested on her stomach where their second child grew. He had been a monster once, a man who ruled through fear and violence. But Emma had changed everything, had shown him that love was stronger than fear, that family was worth more than power, that peace was the greatest victory of all. What are you thinking? Emma asked. That I'm the luckiest man alive, even with all the chaos, the danger, the past, especially because of all that. It led me to you. Marco kissed her gently. Some love stories start with a runaway bride and a dangerous man. Ours started with both and became a legend. Emma smiled against his lips. Our legend. Our legend. Marco agreed. They sat in the garden as the sun set. Isabella played. The baby grew. And 2 people who had been broken found themselves completely whole. The past was behind them. The future stretched ahead, bright and promising. And for the first time in years, Marco Valentini was not just surviving. He was living, really living. And it was more than he had ever dreamed possible. Some love stories are born from tragedy, from pain, from 2 people who found each other in the darkness and chose to walk into the light together. Emma Clark ran from a monster and found a man worth fighting for. Marco Valentini saved a stranger and found a reason to become the man he was always meant to be. Their story was not easy, not simple, not perfect, but it was theirs, and that made it beautiful. If you enjoy stories like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel. That's how I'll know you truly liked it. Even if you're watching on your TV, grab a second to join this family of fans who love emotional and heartfelt stories. Your support means everything, and it helps us bring you even more tales like this one.